Start. We would like to acknowledge that the many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships, both historic and modern, with the territories upon which we are located. Today, this area is home to many Indigenous peoples from across Turtle Island. We acknowledge that our watershed forms a part of the treaty and traditional territory of the southeastern Anishinaabeg. It is on these ancestral and treaty lands that we live and work. To honor this legacy, we commit to being stewards of the natural environment and undertake to have a relationship of respect with our treaty partners. Okay, so welcome everybody, and can I get a motion to adopt the agenda? Kriya and Tracy, all in favor? Carried. Okay, and can I have a motion to approve the minutes of October, please? Jerry, Tracy, any questions? All in favor? Okay. All right. So any business arising from the minutes? None seen. Okay, no deputations, no presentations. And we're on to 7.1, permits issued by designated staff. Matt Mantle.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. As found on page 11 of the agenda, we're reporting on the month of November, and by reading the report, you may notice our statistics continue to be low. However, we were successful in increasing the total number of permits issued, and we have also signed on a new permitter for the new year, so we're excited about that. During the month of November, we issued 37 permits. 59% of them were deemed complete within the timelines, and 68% were issued within the CALP timelines. With respect to the provincial guidelines, we reviewed 100% of the permits within the timelines, and give me a second. I'm sorry, we would like to correct that statement. We reviewed 68% of the applications within the provincial timelines and issued 100% of them within the provincial timelines. Any questions?
Great.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. Thanks for the report. Did you say a new permitter is coming in the new year? Could you talk about that?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. We are hiring them for the 6th. We're excited to have them on. I can give you their name. Their name is Lindsay Green. They have a significant background in the environmental field and have done a variation of things, first municipality, engaged work, and some consulting work and things like that. So.
And do you see that this new addition as being really helping you be more efficient with the whole permitting process?
Yes, this will be filling the empty position that we've had since September. So we're very excited to have them back on board.
Yeah, thank you.
So as the CEO, have you had to work and help get the permits going
Yes,
out in a timely?
Yes, I've been trying to help get permits out. I know permits are important for everyone that has an application in. So trying to do my part. I know Matt is one of the approvers designated by the board. I'm the other. So in order to help everything kind of get streamlined through the process, make sure that people are able to do that. I've been helping out a bit, but the whole team has been helping out, I would say, as well. So my thanks to the entire team and to Matt for all their parts helping out.
Great, good stuff. Well, it'll be a bit easier in the new year. Okay. So any other questions of Matt? Okay. Can I get a motion to receive that report, please? Jerry, Priya, all in favor? Carried. Okay. And we're on to 7.2, Conservation Authorities Act Ministers' Powers Regulation.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So this is This is a proposal that was put forward by the province back in May on the environmental registry. Yes, that's the name changes. So that is correct. Environmental Registry of Ontario. And so they haven't posted a decision yet, but it is actually in the Gazette. I actually checked just before the meeting, and it was anticipated to be posted on the Gazette on the 14th. And so it has been. It's actually be in effect for January 1st. Which is important for us. And what it really does is identifies the circumstances under which the ministerial powers will take effect. And those all have to have provincial interests at heart, which are generally tied to the same things that the Planning Act identifies, which are things of provincial interest. They have to be provision of housing, community services, infrastructure, other big projects that the minister deems appropriate. So there's a couple of sections that are identified in the proposal where this could occur, and that would be where there's a decision of the board that an applicant isn't happy with, and so that would be following a hearing if there's a permit that was denied or conditions that were imposed that the applicant wasn't in agreement with. Those can be appealed back to the minister. And the minister then has an option for reviewing those decisions. And there is a process that's identified to qualify whether or not the minister will look at that. So they have to identify a number of requisite materials in order to be able to move to that framework. And they also have to identify why the minister should be doing this as opposed to the land tribunal. So there is a dual appeal process, and the minister wants to know, kind of why they need to specifically look at that. So there is a limitation of scope that the province is looking at for those. And then there's the other section as well. And so I'll just backtrack. That applies to all regular permits and also to permits that the board has to issue where a minister's zoning order is issued under the Planning Act. So in those cases, the board can never deny it, but they can impose conditions. And if any of those conditions are not agreed to with the applicant, then they can also do those appeal mechanisms. The other instance where ministerial powers exist is if there is an order that is made that says these classes of permits or this specific permit is of provincial interest entirely, and then they can actually issue the permit, but they also identify requisite information for those and scope that accordingly as well. So they have to supply similar information that they would for conservation authorities if they're going through that process, and they've outlined all those materials. So that is the summary. I think is reasonable. I think there's some other aspects that we did comment on earlier in terms of enforcement. So we would be responsible for enforcement for a ministerial permit if it was ever issued, and then that interface I think is kind of interesting that I don't think has been fully worked out. Probably won't until once issued.
Yeah, hopefully we don't have any.
Yeah, so that's a summary of the ministerial powers.
Jerry?
To the chair, to Mark, when I read through it, it kind of looked like there was a fairly broad area that the ministry could step in at basically any time. Like it's worded nicely, but
Yeah.
overwhelmingly they can step in anytime. Is that a big difference from where it was before? Do they not also have that option or right or?
So what was lacking, they never did. So initially it was always, before all the big changes to the act occurred, probably about, I'll say definitely 5 to 7 years ago, there was no specific ability for an appeal other than to the, what was Mining and Lands Commissioner at the time. So now that's changed to the Ontario Land Tribunal since then. And it was only in the last 5 years where that ability was put into place. Like I said, there's been 22 updates to the Conservation Authorities Act in the last 5 years. So I can't pinpoint exactly which one, but that is a new power, and it couldn't be implemented because there's not a supporting regulation that enabled for that to occur. So this is new as a result.
Oh, please.
Jerry?
To the chair. So that being said, was that something that the conservation authorities were hoping for? Or is this something that's just kind of a push down from the top approach?
Through you, Madam Chair, this isn't something that we requested. It was something that the province wanted to implement in order to have a little bit more control over the process.
Any other questions? Okay, can I have a motion to receive that report, please? Jerry and Robert, all in favor? Carried. Okay. So we're on to 7.3, Lake Scugog Enhancement Project.
Through you, Madam Chair. So I'm here just to provide a brief update on the Lake Scugog Enhancement Project. So as all of you know, the Lake Scugog Enhancement Project was a proposed environmental waterfront improvement project for the Prairie Bay to address urban runoff and water quality issues in Bay, and also provide community benefit. So last February, council recommended that we separate the construction into two phases, or tender in two phases. So we went out phase 3 and phase 4. They tendered in July. The results came back, and in September we went to council, or staff went to council and provided a report on the tendering process. The financial shortfalls that they were still having with the tendering, and also talked about the agreements that we still needed to acquire through landowners. One being waiving riparian rights, and the other using the grocery store property to move the Dredge 8 out. So both of those things came back. From there, staff told council that they would recommend that they don't tender the contracts, and that the council wanted them to come back with when significant changes had been made with the agreements in place with the landowners. A special council meeting was held December 2nd to discuss this project, and following an open session, council went into a closed session to discuss confidential staff report on the Lake Scugog Enhancement Project option for consideration. On conclusion of the closed session, the following resolutions were approved by council, and one being that the staff be directed to not proceed with the Lake Scugog Enhancement Project. So I'm just here today to let you know that the Lake Scugog Enhancement Project is no longer.
Okay, Jerry.
Through the chair, so most of that's financial, the impact of the costing?
No. It's not.
Okay, through the chair.
There's some enclosed stuff
Your
too.
interpretation, that was closed door stuff. so you
It was a multi-leveled issue, right? And this was also in our statement. Unfortunately, I don't see our statement included in this package, just Rob's statement in this. But there was concerns about the engineering of building the berm on the peat. That is built up in there, and it's settling. So there was outstanding questions that the Director of Public Works still had about the construction of the berm. There was the permits, there was issues to land and cost. So it was multifaceted. It wasn't just money. There were a lot of outstanding questions, and we have spent an enormous amount of staff time and money pursuing this, and it just got to a point where the landowner was never going to give up the riparian rights, to be quite frank, or it was going to be not financially feasible to acquire those riparian rights. It wasn't going to work. I would quibble a little bit with the term council directed you to put it in phases. That was not a recommendation. We had asked for a reimagining of the project, and the reimagining was, let's do it in phases. So it just got to a point where an extraordinary amount of staff time was being spent pursuing this at the expense of many other things happening. But it wasn't just money. It was a multitude of issues that for the foreseeable future, there was no way of closing the gap to ever get this done. Right, so we could continue to spend time, effort, energy, and money on something that will never happen. Because we were just never going to get there on that. So that's why that decision was made. Good.
Kriya?
Yes, thank you. And I wondered if I could ask Rob some questions, just a question. Is there a plan, like what now?
Well, we're going to be expanding the backwattering pond because we believe, or there's a belief within staff that we can essentially get basically the same environmental benefits by expanding and changing the backwattering pond, which is in that same area.
Like,
So
you mean
staff
like
is being direct, sorry,
expanding it onto the land?
it is on the land, yeah.
But I
So it
mean,
would
but
be in
when you
water.
say expanding, that means,
It's literally expanding it, making it bigger. So the backwattering pond will be larger. And staff's goal is to basically get the same level of
Results.
environmental benefit through that process. But it's all land we control. Right, so we don't have to get permits, we don't have to, get additional land from other people. We're not looking at all of those other sort of things. We're just focused on the overall health of the lake by making that improvement.
and there's, did you get advisors just to recommend this method? I mean, was that
That's what staff is currently pursuing.
it's a staff led concept
That is, yeah.
in terms of the science behind it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, at the end of the day, science is a science, quite frank, but at the end, it's how can we improve the quality of the water going into the lake, right? This is a way we can do it.
I
Right,
guess,
because the way that is there, we can all talk about the science of whatever. It doesn't matter if you can't afford it.
no, I
Or you can't get it.
understand. I just wonder if the Kawartha Lakes Conservation Authority, for instance, understood that method and like back to that approach. That's all I really meant from a scientific point of view.
All I can do is speak from my perspective, and my perspective is it always seemed like the focus was on the endpoint, which was creating the berm and the wetland. And that's kind of what things centered on. Other people may have different perspectives, but when we had asked for a reimagining of it, that's kind of what we were fishing for. We were looking for other alternatives to improve the health of the lake. And it was a phased construction instead of a different construction. So,
Okay, thank you for your answers.
yes, sir.
Jerry?
Through the chair, on that note, do you see a time frame that this new approach could be?
We will have to wait for a staff report. Have no idea.
Yeah, fair enough.
So you didn't agree with the engineers saying that, this could be done on peat?
Well, not me personally.
Oh, okay,
It has nothing to do with my personal opinion of it.
right, but you had engineers saying that it was feasible to do this.
Well, no, there was a disagreement from other people saying that it couldn't happen. So it was going to have to go back and get reassessed,
Mhm.
right, to do that. So there wasn't an agreement by people who are professional in that regard of doing it. So we had GHD who said it could, and we had other people who believed that potentially it couldn't. So it was going to have to go through another reassessment, which was going to be more time, more money, and the answer could be maybe yes or maybe no.
Okay, alrighty, so I get that we're just gonna receive that, so can I have a motion just to receive it? Jerry, Tracy, all in favor? Carried. Okay, 7.4 CAO report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My CAO report is here for you. It's a little bit of a shorter timeframe between meetings, but we had some exciting things occur during that timeframe. We had, I think Christmas at Ken Reed is probably the one that I'll highlight first, even though it's a little bit later in the report. It was another successful event. We had somewhere between 750, which is our official number, but we know that there's a few buses that snuck in that might be a little higher than that, maybe around 800. So there were people who were dropped off before counters could get to them. But really successful event. Definitely less chaotic than last year. So I think the parking arrangement worked, and the shuttle seemed to work as well. So we have some ideas in terms of how we can, same as every year, improve upon the event itself, but extremely well received. And we did hear that it was kind of nice actually not having all the lineups that we had last year. Probably goes for the road as well as for the different different sort of pieces that people were able to enjoy while here. We also have the illuminated forest going on right now. So if you do have a chance, it's quite beautiful. So at night it turns on, I believe around 5 o'clock. When it gets dark, you can enjoy that. And it'll be running through till at least Christmas, I believe.
Through till June, or
Oh, optimism.
July 3rd.
July,
Yeah.
July 3rd.
January.
January.
It's really wanted to be.
Christy, it's spreading, I'm telling you.
9 PM in the summer.
Yes, through till July 3rd.
No,
No. You better put a TO in for batteries.
Something,
Oh my goodness, January.
that's okay.
I do.
So January.
Answer that for.
But maybe that's a thought. Maybe you could do it all year long. Oh.
I haven't had the chance to go, but lots of people are making the trip over here, so great advertising.
And it is something that, and I know a couple other people that are making the trip to come up and see it. And it is quite nice. It's about 1.5 kilometers lit up, and there's a couple of really nice spots along it that are really well done. So kudos to staff for getting that, and I can attest, I was out the one night and it was very well used. So it was a constant stream of cars. The parking lot was actually full when I went. So we have a couple of other things going on, a lot of kind of preparatory work for the new year and anticipation work. So contracts being extended. Matt let you know about another offer that was put forward that happened actually after this report was put out for the perimeter. So lots of good work that's going on in order to set ourselves up for the new year. We were successful in obtaining funding for the floodplain mapping for Burnt River. So that's tremendous. So that project will move forward.
That's great.
And that finishes the northern end. So we did the southern end of Burnt River before, so this extends it up to Kinmount now, which is great. You'll see that we installed a snow sensor in our weather station on the top of the hill there, just in time for the first snowfall, which is great. So that gives us real-time capacity and lets us know what's on the land so we can do flood forecasting operations better. And we are also in a low water situation currently, which is kind of interesting. So based on the precipitation data that we have, we are in a low water. We have notified the low water response team, who's a group of people that get together in order to manage withdrawals and promote primarily voluntary reductions in water use. But it's winter, so we don't have lawn watering and some of the other things that you'd expect in the summertime. So at this point, we're holding on to it. We've notified them, and then in the new year, we'll kind of track as precipitation amounts come in and figure out if we need to do something more, convene a meeting and do something on that. So we're hoping it'll recover, but we are currently experiencing low water conditions in level 1 and level 2 in Fort Perry, actually. So the other thing I'll note is I know the board was interested in some of the drone work that we were doing. So there's a little bit of a snapshot in there on some of the work, which is pretty cool. And what it is doing is tied to our sediment erosion project with City of Kawartha Lakes. And this was a development that we flew. It's on the south end of Lindsay. And so we photographed the entire thing and used the drone technology, interpreted the data, and what that does is helps us figure out, we did flow routing as a result of those measurements as well. And that lets us know if a hypothetical rainfall event flows on the land, where it'll go. And so there's several areas that we've identified would need heavier silt barriers. And so that helps the developer out in terms of compliance, and then helps everyone out in terms of better water quality for lake streams and water courses. So I think it's a win-win overall, and some pretty exciting work that we're doing.
Great. Any questions on that report, Jerry?
through the chair to Mark, I'm just curious, and if it's too in-depth, we can do it another time, but when you're trying to monitor that snow with that new sensor, how good is the accuracy between like wet snow, a real fluffy snow and rain and the transitions in between? I'm just trying to think how it does that.
What I'll do is I'll put that over to Nancy, because it's brand new technology for me. I'm used to sort of what you are used to, which is a stick and weigh the thing, in order to figure out what the water equivalency is. So, Nancy.
This is a trick question.
Well, you don't have to do it at the meeting. I
Yeah.
was curious when I was looking through it.
There, from what Nathan has explained to me, it goes in, there's a tick and it's calibrated and it ticks and it goes back and forth. I will get the scientific answer to that.
Okay.
It's a process, so,
No, there's quite a range there to try to
It
monitor.
melts and then it like trickles in and it's the equivalent.
Fair enough.
So, thank you, Nancy. Madam Chair, Nancy's explanation, detailed explanation triggered something in my mind to a conversation I actually had with Nathan, and it has antifreeze in it.
Oh,
So because it has antifreeze, the snow melts and then be similar to a weight of the snow.
oh, yeah,
So you'd be able to figure out what the water equivalency is as a result of that.
cool,
Wow, that is
interesting.
More scientific than tick tick.
I have a question, on, the buses for the event. So, were they sold out? Or, because I saw the Facebook, post, 50% sold out. So I was just wondering how well we did with that.
Yeah, so, the buses were free for people, so there wasn't any tickets sold on the buses. The parking that we had available. for
Right.
People to park,
Gotcha,
that was sold out. So we had 99 of the 100 spaces
yeah.
were completely sold.
Oh,
So,
that's great.
yeah, so that was really nice to see. And then the buses, through the concentrated effort of the volunteers, on site and some math wizardry from John, we were able to track what buses and what timeframes they were really popular versus what buses maybe were less popular. So it gives us an opportunity to adjust our plans for next year. Maybe we want to look at a different location for a bus route or those types of things. So we're still in
Good.
the process of analyzing all of that.
That's what I meant to say, the parking, but that's great that it mostly, sold out. That's great. Any other questions of Mark? Okay, can I have a motion to receive his report? Priya and Robert, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Correspondence?
Yeah, correspondence, there were two pieces of correspondence that were forwarded to us. And that included a response from the minister on a letter that was written by you, Madam Chair, regarding Sir Sanford Fleming College. So that letter is provided. And then Rob Naserbi of the president of the Lake Stewards also forwarded us correspondence tied to LSUP and the decision there.
And the letter that I wrote really didn't answer the questions that I put out there, but anyway. So that was their stock reply. Okay, can I have a motion to receive, Robert?
Were you on the distribution list for the township correspondence?
I don't remember getting it specifically. I remember going to a web link to find the information.
Okay, yeah, just out of curiosity, because I'll mention to that to staff that you should have been on the distribution list for the press release.
Okay,
Motion.
yep. Jerry, seconder, Tracy, all in favor? Carried. Okay. So we're on to 8.1, a prescription for nature program.
Yeah, so through you, Madam Chair, we have been in discussions with the BC Parks Foundation, which is an organization that has started a park prescription or nature prescription program that is designed to not only break down some of the barriers that people have in access to quality green space, but also promote the use of quality green space as part of an overall healthcare model. So when we go back to our conservation area strategy and we recognize that both both physical health as well as mental health rate really, really high for our community. And so this was sort of driven out of that strategy when we started to have these discussions. The program is essentially, it was established originally over in Scotland. It has migrated around the world, and there's a number of different countries that are doing it now. And the idea is that when you receive a prescription from a medical professional and it's in writing, we tend to take it more seriously than just a doctor or a nurse practitioner or whoever saying, you should go outside a little bit more. And so the program is essentially a healthcare professional that participates in the program will prescribe for a patient as part of their overall healthcare plan, whatever their medications are, as well as a prescription for perhaps it's a 20-minute walk in nature 3 times a week, perhaps it's more, perhaps it's less. And the idea is that if they present this prescription to participating organizations, of which we've been asked to be one, then we would give them some sort of a discount or remove some of the barriers that may be involved in them participating in that. So there's a number of different conservation authorities and organizations that participate. The Toronto Zoo participates in it, Toronto Region Conservation Authority participates, Halton Region Conservation participates. There's some bike share programs that also participate, and so we're looking to do the same. And of course, how we break down those barriers is completely up to us, right? We say this is what we want to offer folks. And so when they get their prescription, they will get a brochure that says, here's Kawartha Conservation, here's a map of all of their conservation areas, and you'll get a 25% discount on an annual membership, which allows you to access any one of these parks for over the course of a year. That is provided by the practitioner. There's also all kinds of newsletters that go out to all the different practitioners that are providing those prescriptions. So we're looking for some support to take that forward and continue to negotiate with BC Parks Foundation to provide that to our community.
What a great idea.
Yeah.
Super. Okay, Kriya?
Thank you. And through you, such a good idea. And I'm not surprised at all to hear it coming from you after all your work on mental health and
Thank you.
in the parks. And I'm just wondering about expanding it even more. So can all the medical professionals in this area be made aware that you're a park that is receiving, so that if they've never thought about prescribing 20 minutes a day, they will now sort of feel more connected to it?
Yeah, so there is an overall, there's some sort of subscription program through for medical professionals to participate in the program. There's some training and whatnot involved. One of the discussions that we've had with BC Foundation is to host an event so that the medical practitioners from this community that might be interested could come to Kawartha Conservation. We could have other medical participants that are our medical professionals that are already participating could come and share that information peer to peer. And then maybe we can take them out for a walk and sort of show them the conservation area and make them a little more familiar. But yes, absolutely. Right now, there's about 150 medical professionals that are actively participating within our sort of general catchment area.
Oh, so that's huge. So no doubt the word will spread. That's fantastic. It's so exciting. Rather than drugs.
Robert?
Through you, is there going to be any other, I guess, programming around associated with that, other than sort of discount pass or things like that, but things actually actively promoted? Because I know like Japan and Norway have programs that are like forest bathing and things like that. And like this concept was featured heavily in a recent book called Comfort Crisis, the value of that. So, I mean, just getting people out there is great, but teaching people that it's important to do it is another good thing as well. So whether there's an active program, I mean, I would humbly put forward that we could use some blogs or other things to talk about the value of it and to, directing individuals, not even just doctors, but individuals to talk to their doctor potentially about that. Because there is at this point, there's a lot of information out there that shows like even a 10-minute walk in nature can reduce your blood pressure, reduce the elements of anxiety, all of these sort of things. So just talking about the value of that could be important in association with the program as well.
Yeah, and you raised a really good point. So we have a forest therapy program that we run here on a monthly basis that we've been doing since 2017, 2018. And so this, while it's not necessarily in conjunction with this program, it would be one of those programs that we would offer to
Right.
folks that want to participate for
Excellent.
sure. Yeah, and we are launching it. Our goal is to launch the program on Bell Let's Talk Day, which is a day where we offer free forest therapy to the community all day long.
Excellent.
I was just thinking that the insurance industry should be involved in funding this, keeping people healthy. That could be a possible route to funding.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Claims.
They like to take money back in.
Yeah, I was just
But
thinking, like,
that's what they would be doing, though. They'd be saving money in the long run, right? Anyway, any other questions or comments? Can I have a motion to receive the report? Okay, Robert, Tracy, all in favor? Carried. Well, to negotiate an agreement, so, yeah. That's good news. Okay, Christy, you're on again at 8.2, Maple Leaves Forever program.
Maple Leaves Forever. So this is a program that's been running for a number of years. And essentially it started off as an organization that was looking to plant maple leaves in along the Highway of Heroes as a way of recognizing our heroes, but also as a way of supporting and encouraging more maple trees on the landscape. The gentleman that started the movement and has since, started working with a number of different forestry organizations is concerned about the number of hybrid maple trees that are used, especially in our urban settings. So a lot of our street trees and whatnot are not native maple trees. And in some cases, the Norway maple being one of them, it can actually and has started to infiltrate into our forests. And so it does present a little bit of a challenge for our natural landscapes. And so they're asking for organizations such as Kawartha Conservation and other conservation authorities through our umbrella organization, Conservation Ontario. They're looking for us to sort of just recognize that if we are participating in any kind of tree planting program, whether it's, rural or urban, that we would only support the planting of native maple trees. When a maple tree is called for, that it is a native maple species as opposed to some sort of hybrid species. This is something that we've already been doing. We only support those types of programs or those types of species, even through things like our water fund, our restoration plans, our TD Friends of the Environment when we do our TD tree days and things like that. But this is just sort of a formal recognition of the fact that this is what we're going to do, and putting it in writing and making it a motion is a signal to the community that that's what we're doing.
Yeah, just briefly, I listened to the gentleman, I forget his name, at Conservation Ontario, was very passionate, an older fellow. Yeah, so, do you remember his name?
I don't.
It was quite moving, so, yeah. Tracy?
And on that, I was gonna say, it's a phenomenal program. I think it's almost 20 years old, this program. I know, and that he does offer a 25% towards whatever resident steward wants to move into this program. So it's a great program, actually.
Yeah, he does provide a subsidy, or the program provides a subsidy for people that want to plant native maple trees on streets, like on roadsides, specifically to be using them as sort of a windbreak type situation, because especially our rural roads where we used to have those massive maple trees, and of course, as they get older, they get weakened, they break off, and people have been planting other species instead, or non-native species. So that's a great way to encourage them to do that.
Robert?
What are the trees themselves? Are they saplings? What size does
Yeah,
the
so
program
they're-
provide? Are you able to get like a sort of a few-year-old tree, so you're not starting kind of from scratch, or what's the?
Yeah, so the trees that he provides support for are a much larger caliper tree than your typical sapling.
Okay.
We do the sapling tree planting for, large scale plantings. We also do sort of the 1 gallon, 2 gallon pots for some of our urban tree planting, but the ones that qualify for this funding have to meet a specific size, they have to meet a specific number of how many, like, you know, no more than this, no less than that sort of
Okay,
thing.
that's good. And is there a rough price on those if you wanted to participate in the program?
Yeah.
Is it for individuals to do that if they had like a stretch? Just getting
Yeah.
a sense of, you know, if somebody wanted to get 3 or 4 of them to make a windbreak.
Yeah.
Is it like at that level or is it a bit more industrial or commercial level?
No, I think, I think it's a minimum of 10 trees is the program minimum. I'm not 100% sure on that, but, yeah, the private landowner can absolutely
Okay.
apply for it. The cost of the tree, that's gonna vary depending on where it is that you go for the tree, but yeah.
Okay, great, thank you.
Korea?
Yeah, thanks, and through you. One of our community members brought this to council a number of years ago, I think looking for support. And I remember at the time, operations staff had some comments on where they like to see trees along roads and where they don't, based on drifting. You know, so these trees are along there and they either, I can't remember if they didn't want to see any on roads at all for their convenience, or if they didn't want them at the west, because then the snow would come and drift up behind, or is it on the east because the snow would go all the, I can't remember, but there was some pushback from operational staff. And I think that a lot of rural communities, unfortunately, still face that when it comes to lining the rural roads with large maple trees. It was really disappointing at the time, but I didn't have a way to argue it based on their sort of way of seeing how the plows go around and stuff. So I need some good answers to that.
I wish I had those good answers for you. What I can tell you is that there is like a calculation as to how far away, how high is the tree gonna grow and how far away from the road does it need to be in order to force the snow up and over the road as opposed to up and dump it on the road. I don't have that calculation for you right now.
Yeah.
But there are calculations for that.
I'm sure this organization has done all that work and has an answer to come back to municipalities, rural
But
municipalities.
it's a grant.
Yeah,
But I mean, they would have done the thinking about which, you know, how roads crews feel about trees lining rural roads.
I think the challenge is that we don't drive snowplows and so we don't understand what the concerns are. And so I think that that's something, you know, if we were looking to launch a program to start promoting people to plant those trees and really take a focused effect on it, then we would have to sit down with our municipal partners and the staff at the municipality to really understand what are the concerns around it and work together collaboratively to come up with those creative solutions.
Yeah, figure out where they should be.
So, downtown trees, so I don't know my maples, like, say Bob Cajun, they were Acer, is that a hybrid when it says Acer? Or
Acer is the Latin name for maple.
that's it, so it could be any type of maple. But you're saying that would be a good next step, is to sit down with municipal partners to see if, you know, when they are replacing trees in the downtown cores, that, you know, the real maples be planted. Yeah, Jerry?
Teresa, go first.
Oh,
I have
sir.
one to ask.
Okay, Tracy?
No, and I was just gonna make comment to the program. It is, you know, they are native, so it's your sugar maples, but I mean, when you look at downtown trees, often those are not hardy trees for downtown
No.
planting because you've got folks throwing their cigarette butts around the trees, right?
Mm.
So, and the tree canopy can be compromised. So I know locusts, there's been a study on some downtown trees that are a lot hardier when it comes to downtown. But this program in particular, he's been doing it forever. I know, and you have to contact the nursery to see if they're part of the Maple Leafs Forever program. And the nursery does the background work with the resident with the program. So that's how that works. When it comes to drifting snow, I know Fourth Lakes did a program in 2022 where we actually did tree planting along some of our areas that have heavy snow drifting. And I know I went and checked on those trees 2 weeks ago just to see how some of them are doing in our area. And they've more than doubled the size in the last 2 years. So those are some of the planting programs that some municipalities are moving forward with, is they are not doing the snow fence, so where's our areas that are creating snow drifts? And Public Works has worked with, that program with Parks and Rec. So.
Good.
So that's something that you can maybe mention to your own council,
Yeah.
or your own staff, that you know, Public Works identifies where the areas are. And if you have a tree planting program that's being enforced, and that's where they go. It's not going to make an immediate impact, but in 4 years, it certainly will.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
best time to plant a tree.
See, we don't use snow fences anymore, and that's,
Still do, but
you do? Your municipality does? Yeah, good. Jerry?
through the chair, so to that point, proper sugar maple is a gorgeous tree, especially when it's matured, but in an urban setting, it doesn't work as well, because the end game is trying to get them down, and the disruption to sidewalks and water mains and stuff because of the size they mature to. I think that was what a lot of focus was put on, modifying trees that would look pretty, but would not become a huge expense to the taxpayer because of that maturity being a problem at the end. So just to that note, again.
I went to a sustainability conference years ago when we were just doing downtown Bobcaygeon and was trying to get more trees. And they actually have this box thing that they use so the tree can expand. So there are different engineering possibilities around having bigger trees downtowns, so. Yeah, it is interesting, trees. Okay, I guess I'll just read resolve that Kawartha Conservation recognizes the importance of native maple trees, Canada's arboreal emblem, and we commit to plant native maple tree species whenever a maple is called for in Kawartha Conservation Planting Project. So can I have a mover and a seconder? Robert and Jerry, all in favor? Carried. Okay. So no new business. Do we have any reports or updates from board members or staff? Well, I just want to wish everybody a happy holiday season, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and everybody stay safe and enjoy the season. So we're going to make a motion to go into closed session. So can I have a mover and a seconder? Tracy and Priya, all in favor? Carried.
Madam Chair, I'd be looking to Christie in for the
Yes.
first one.
Okay.
And Nancy for the second.